The tipping point. Chapter 3. The stickiness factor. Welcome to an exploration of Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point. Specifically, Chapter 3. The stickiness factor. This is not just another audiobook. This is a mental virus. Once you hear this, you will never look at information, persuasion, or influence the same way again. You will start to see the world through a new lens, one where ideas either grip the mind or slip away into oblivion. Stickiness is the reason why some messages, brands, and movements take over our consciousness and why others vanish. It is the difference between an idea that you hear and forget in a second versus one that hijacks your thoughts, reshapes your actions, and rewires your perception of reality. By the time you finish this audiobook, you will question everything. Why you remember some ads but not others. Why some advice changes your life while other words fade into noise. And why some moments in history ignite revolutions while others sink into obscurity. You will start seeing how the principles of stickiness apply not just in business and media, but in relationships, politics, education, every aspect of life. The anatomy of stickiness. What makes an idea unforgettable? Imagine you are standing in a sea of messages, millions of words, slogans, advertisements, and ideas trying to grab your attention. But only a handful truly stick. Why? Gladwell argues that stickiness is not an accident. It is engineered. It is designed with precision. And it follows a set of principles that, once understood, allow you to create messages that are not just heard, but absorbed, retained, and acted upon. Let's take a moment to test this principle right now. Think of a commercial you saw 5 years ago that you still remember. Got it? Now, think of one you saw last week but can't recall at all. What made the first one stay with you? Was it the emotion, the simplicity, the way it connected to a deep part of your brain? The Sesame Street and Blue's Clues experiment, the science of captivation. Gladwell gives us a fascinating case study. Sesame Street and Blue's Clues, 2 children's programs that revolutionized how we understand stickiness. When Sesame Street was created, its goal was to educate preschoolers using television, a medium that had never been optimized for learning before. But simply teaching was not enough. If kids didn't pay attention, they wouldn't learn. So, the creators did something groundbreaking. They tested every episode in front of real children. If kids lost focus, the segment was either reworked or thrown out. What they discovered was that kids didn't just need content, they needed engagement. They needed a show that made them participate mentally. And then came Blue's Clues, a show that took this idea even further. It was slower. It repeated itself constantly. Adults might find it boring, but kids? They were glued to the screen. Repetition wasn't annoying. It was reinforcing. By watching the same episode 5 times in a row, kids didn't just remember the content. They owned it. Here's where your mind should be buzzing with questions. If children's attention can be engineered, what about yours? If certain patterns make kids remember and act, what about adults? Are you aware of the messages that are shaping your thoughts every day? The dark side of stickiness. Are you being manipulated? Now let's flip the coin. Stickiness is powerful, but power can be used for good or evil. If messages can be designed to stay in your mind, what does that mean for advertising? For propaganda? For political campaigns? Think about the Marlboro Man. The ad didn't just sell cigarettes, it sold an identity. The image of rugged masculinity and independence became inseparable from the product. Decades later, even after countless anti-smoking campaigns, the idea of the Marlboro Man still lingers. That's the power of stickiness. It embeds itself into culture. Or take something closer to home, social media. Viral trends aren't accidental. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube have cracked the stickiness code. Ever wonder why certain videos stay in your mind? They exploit the same principles: emotional hooks, unexpected twists, and patterns of repetition that make your brain crave more. So now the real question becomes, Are you choosing what sticks in your mind, or is someone else programming you? Are you in control of your thoughts, or are you just reacting to the most persuasive stimulus around you? Engineering. Your own stickiness. How to make your ideas unforgettable. Now that you know how stickiness works, it's time to turn the tables. If companies and media manipulate your attention, why not use these principles for your advantage? Here's a formula to make your own ideas, messages, and goals stick. 1. Surprise and emotion. People don't remember boring things. Shock, humor, awe. These are mental glue. Use them. 2. Repetition. If it worked for Blue's Clues, it works for you. Repetition turns knowledge into instinct. 3. Simplicity and clarity. The brain hates complexity. Strip down your message to its core. 4. Engagement and participation. The more people interact with an idea, the more it becomes theirs. 5. Storytelling. Data fades, stories last. Frame everything in a compelling narrative. We've now arrived at the moment where you have a choice. You can forget this audiobook, like so many others, and move on with your life. Or you can let this stick. You can start seeing the world for what it really is, a battlefield of attention. You can start designing your words, your work, your actions with precision so that they don't just exist, but spread. Now, I want you to take immediate action. Right now, write down something you need to make stick. A business idea? A personal brand? A message you believe in? Apply the principles we just discussed. If you do this, if you truly master the stickiness factor, you won't just consume ideas. You will create ideas that last, ideas that spread, ideas that change the world. This is not just another audiobook. This is a virus. And now, it's in you. Chapter 4, The Power of Context, Part 1. You are not you. You are a puppet, and your strings are pulled by the room you sit in, the strangers you ignore, and the invisible rules you never question. Welcome to Chapter 4. The Power of Context. Malcolm Gladwell is about to prove that your choices, your morals, even your crimes, are not yours. They're programmed by your environment. By the end of this hour, you'll either seize control of your context or remain its slave. Let's begin the autopsy. In 1984, Bernie Goetz shot 4 teenagers on a New York subway. Was he a vigilante, a monster, or a product of a city rotting from the inside? The answer will terrify you, because your environment is scripting your next breakdown. Let's dissect the virus before it dissects you. Part 1. The Broken Windows Theory. How Decay Creates Devils. In the 1980s, New York's subways were gulags, graffiti-coated trains, fare beaters, homelessness, violence. Then, a radical idea. Fix the broken windows, clean the graffiti, arrest petty crimes. And suddenly, murders dropped, rapes vanished. Why? Because chaos is permission. Decay is an invitation. Let's weaponize this truth. Till 1A, the crime you're already committing. A single broken window left untended screams, no one cares. So vandals break another, then squatters move in, then dealers, then killers. Your life has broken windows, that unpaid bill, that cluttered desk, that toxic friend you tolerate. Each is a fracture screaming, destroy me. Audit your surroundings, now. What's your broken window? The expired milk in your fridge? The unresolved feud with your sibling? Fix it. Today, or tomorrow, it becomes a crime scene. 1B. The Stanford Prison Experiment. You are the monster. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo turned Stanford's basement into a prison. Ordinary students became guards, then torturers, not because they were evil, because the context demanded it, the uniforms, the titles, the power. You'd have done the same. You are doing the same. That corporate job draining your soul, that toxic relationship you won't leave, you're not stuck. You're cast in a role. Tear off the costume, smash the set, or keep playing the villain in your own tragedy. Unsee the Zoom apocalypse. 2020. Millions trapped at home. Sweatpants, unwashed hair, cameras off, productivity died. Why? Because context shapes behavior. Your pajamas are a broken window. Your messy desk is a crime scene. Redesign your environment or surrender to decay. Tomorrow. Dress for work, even at home. Light a candle, sit upright, rebuild your context, or rot in your sweatpants purgatory. Part 2. Channel capacity. Why 150 is the magic number. Gladwell reveals a secret. Human brains can't handle more than 150 relationships. This is Dunbar's number. Gore-Tex factories cap at 150 employees. Medieval villages capped at 150. But you've got 1,500 Instagram followers. You're drowning. Let's purge. Tay. The cult of 150 days. In Gore-Tex factories, there are no titles, no hierarchies, just first names. Innovation thrives. Why? Because at 150, everyone matters. Trust is automatic. But your life? You're chasing 10K followers who don't know your name. You're a ghost in a digital graveyard. Delete 90% of your contacts. Keep 150. The rest, dead weight. Cut them, or let them bury you. B. The dinner party rule. Imagine hosting a dinner party. How many guests could truly connect? 6? 10? 20? Beyond that, conversations fracture. Relationships starve. Yet you call 500 people friends. Lies. Your brain can't even remember 500 faces. Here's your challenge. Invite 5 people to dinner. Not colleagues. Not followers. Humans. Talk. Listen. Connect. If you can't name 5, you're already extinct. C. The hive mind trap. Social media promised connection. It gave us hive minds, swarms of strangers echoing emptiness. You retweet slogans you don't believe, post photos you hate. Why? Because context owns you. Break the hive, or be digested by it. Part 3. The power of temperature. How weather controls your soul. In 1968, a heat wave hit New York. Murders spiked 30%. Riots erupted. Why? Because heat short-circuits restraint. Your environment isn't just around you, it's inside you. Let's hack it. J. The thermostat of rage. Studies prove courtrooms convict harsher in heat. CEOs fire faster in humidity. Your anger isn't yours, it's the weather's. So, lower your thermostat, breathe cold air, freeze your rage, or let summer turn you into a criminal. B. The Arctic Clarity Experiment. Norwegian CEOs work in freezing offices. Why? Cold sharpens focus. Heat breeds chaos. Adjust your context. Work near a window. Walk barefoot on ice. Shock your system into clarity, or melt into mediocrity. Check. 3C. The moon's curse. ERs overflow during full moons. Police logs spike. Ancient madness? No. Context. Light disrupts sleep. Sleep deprivation breeds insanity. Your iPhone is a mini moon, blasting blue light, shredding your sanity. Turn it off, or go mad. You've seen the proof. Your environment is a puppeteer. Your home, your tribe, even the temperature, they're scripting your life. Now. Right now. You have 2 choices. T and continue as a puppet. Let your cluttered desk strangle your dreams. Let your 1,000 friends starve your soul. Let the heat boil your IQ into sludge. 2. Become a god. Declare war on context. Fix every broken window. Purge every fake friend. Control the temperature of your destiny. Wow. Gladwell gave you the science. I've given you the scalpel. Cut your strings. Rewrite your script. Or stay on the stage, mouthing lines written by decay. The tipping point isn't coming. It's here. And it's yours to break, or be broken by. The tipping point. Chapter 5, Part 2. The Power of Context. What if I told you that who you are is not as solid as you think? That your behavior, your decisions, your very identity are not just shaped by your personality, but by something much more subtle, much more insidious? Your environment. Welcome to Chapter 5 of The Tipping Point, where we dive deep into the power of context, Part 2. And let me warn you, once you hear this, you will never see the world the same way again. You will start questioning everything. Why do people act differently in groups? Why does morality fluctuate based on setting? Why do revolutions happen in one place and not another? This is not just another audiobook. This is a virus, a mental virus that will take root in your mind and force you to rethink how you behave, how you lead, how you manipulate, and how you are being manipulated. The 150 rule, the hidden limit of human connection. Let's start with a number. 150. Why is this number so important? Because it defines the limit of meaningful human relationships. Beyond 150, things start to break down. Friendships become acquaintances. Communication becomes inefficient. Order turns into chaos. But why? Gladwell brings up the work of British anthropologist Robin Dunbar, who discovered a fascinating correlation between primate brain size and the size of their social groups. The bigger the neocortex, the bigger the social network an animal can handle. For humans, that number is 150. Think about it. Ancient villages rarely exceeded 150 people. Military units function best when split into groups of 150. Companies struggle to maintain intimacy and culture once they exceed this threshold. Now let's take this idea further. What happens when a company or a movement ignores the 150 rule? It collapses. The culture erodes. Communication breaks down. The sense of belonging fades. Take Gore-Tex, for example. A billion-dollar company that intentionally keeps its office units small, never exceeding 150 employees in one location. Why? Because they know that past this limit, people stop feeling responsible for each other. Productivity drops. Collaboration weakens. The sense of ownership dissolves. Now, I want you to think about your own life. How many real relationships do you maintain? How many people do you actually care about? More importantly, how many people care about you? If your circle exceeds 150, you might not even realize how many relationships in your life are purely superficial, mere ghosts of connection. And here's the real question. Are you spreading your energy too thin? How context controls behavior. The Stanford Prison Experiment. Let's go deeper. Imagine you take a group of normal, everyday people just like you, and split them into two roles, prisoners and guards. Then you lock them in a simulated prison for 2 weeks. You might think nothing dramatic would happen. After all, they're just acting, right? Wrong. This is exactly what psychologist Philip Zimbardo did in the infamous Stanford Prison Experiment in 1971, and the results were terrifying. Within days, the guards became sadistic, abusing their power. The prisoners became submissive, hopeless, even psychologically broken. What does this tell us? That evil is not just born, it is created. Not by genetics, not by personality, but by context. And if the environment can turn normal students into monsters, what does that mean for you? Could your workplace be shaping you into something you're not? Could your social circle be influencing your moral decisions without you realizing it? Could the systems around you be turning you into a passive participant in something much bigger than you understand? Now, let's take it one step further. The NYC crime drop, proof that context is everything. One of the most famous examples of the power of context is the sudden and dramatic drop in crime in New York City during the 1990s. In the late 1980s, NYC was a mess. Murders, theft, gang violence. It was out of control. Then, almost overnight, crime rates plummeted. People thought it was better policing, tougher laws, or changing demographics. But Gladwell argues it was something far simpler. The broken windows theory. The idea is simple. When a window in a neighborhood is broken and left unrepaired, it sends a message. Disorder is tolerated here, and once disorder starts, it spreads. One broken window leads to another. Graffiti leads to more graffiti. Petty crime leads to violent crime. So what did NYC do? They didn't just go after criminals. They went after the environment. They cleaned up the subways. They cracked down on fare evasion. They erased graffiti. They fixed broken windows. And what happened? Crime dropped by 75%. Think about that. They didn't attack criminals. They attacked the context that created criminals. And when the environment changed, so did the behavior of millions of people. Your world is shaping you. Right now. Now, let's bring this back to you. You think you're in control of your behavior. But are you? Would you steal if you were in a chaotic environment where everyone else was stealing? Would you become more ruthless in a high-pressure corporate setting that rewards aggression? Would you compromise your values if the group around you made it seem normal? More importantly, what contexts are shaping your decisions right now without you even realizing it? Maybe you're stuck in a toxic workplace, but you haven't left because it feels normal. Maybe you're surrounded by negativity, but you haven't noticed because you've adapted to it. Maybe you're part of a culture that is eroding your identity, but you keep going because it's what everyone else is doing. If NYC's crime rate could be changed by fixing a few broken windows, what broken windows are in your life? This is the moment where you take action. Now that you know how context shapes everything, you can no longer pretend you're a passive observer. You are either a victim of your environment or a creator of it. So here's what you need to do. 1. Audit your environment. Who and what is influencing you daily? 2. Fix your broken windows. What small changes could shift the trajectory of your life? 3. Control the context of others. If you want to lead, change the environment first. People will follow. This is not just an audiobook. This is a virus, and now it's inside you. So the real question is, what will you do next?